This hour of the Jeff Santos Show is sponsored by LIUNA, the Laborers International Union of North America. Feel the power. You can check what they are doing for their members right now. Just go to liuna.org.
Here on the Jeff Santos Show. Thanks, Kevin, for playing some cool tunes. Phone number to join us, 877-711-5611. We're talking to Don McGillis, political editor at the Boston Globe, and joined by Mark Taylor-Canfield, Huffington Post contributor, amongst others. Now, gentlemen, and I want to go to you, Don. I know you get limited time here. Not that you don't either, Mark, and I thank you for holding again. But Don, here is I think an issue that was also surprising that it was brought up by Romney. Here he is on the Detroit bankruptcy issue. This is cut one.
And I know he keeps saying, you wanted to take Detroit bankrupt. Well, the president took Detroit bankrupt. You took General Motors bankrupt. You took Chrysler bankrupt. So when you say that I wanted to take the auto industry bankrupt, you actually did. And I think it's important to know that that was a process that was necessary to get those companies back on their feet so they could start hiring more people. That was precisely what I recommended and ultimately what happened.
Now, the president came back and talked about it, but before we go there, I'm interested, Don, has the Romney people, because when this whole issue came out, Eric Fernstrom came out. I thought it was kind of pretty audacious of him, but he came out and said, no, this is the only plan that Obama thought was a good one, was a Romney plan. Have they figured that they can win on this issue, the bankruptcy issue, even though there is video of him, and you can explain the bankruptcy one way or the other, but bankruptcy is bankruptcy, really. You go through the process and recover and rebuild. It's still bankruptcy. Are they confident they can do this, or will we hear very little along the campaign trail from Romney on this issue?
Well, first of all, Obama first mentioned the Detroit bankruptcy bailout situation last night, and then Romney responded to it saying, well, we wanted a bankruptcy, you ended up putting him in bankruptcy. And then Obama came back to that saying, well, listen, what you were proposing wouldn't have given them any money, basically. And he could have done that more dramatically if he had said how utterly unwilling any kind of private financiers were to back a bailout of GM and Chrysler, that it really required public money. That was the real sticking point between Obama and Romney on this, using public money to bail out these corporations. And in both cases, they ended up in bankruptcy. And so technically, you say, oh, Romney is correct. But the point that Obama made, and not really strongly enough, is that to keep them alive at that point, you needed public money. This was at the depths of the recession. There was no private money for that purpose. And how this resounds in two states with a lot of auto workers, Michigan and Ohio, I suspect that Romney's basic position that he was willing to let them really go bankrupt in the sense that there wouldn't be this infusion of cash that the federal government supplied. I think that's pretty well known in those states.
Here is the cut, and then I want to get Mark's thought on this, too. This is how the reaction that you're just talking about, Don. Cut two, Kevin.
Andy, what Governor Romney said just isn't true. He wanted to take them into bankruptcy without providing them any way to stay open. And we would have lost 1 million jobs. And that, don't take my word for it, take the executives at GM and Chrysler, some of whom were Republicans, may even support Governor Romney. But they'll tell you his prescription wasn't going to work. And Governor Romney says he's got a 5-point plan. Governor Romney doesn't have a 5-point plan. He has a 1-point plan. And that plan is to make sure that folks at the top play by a different set of rules. That's been his philosophy in the private sector. That's been his philosophy as governor. That's been his philosophy as a presidential candidate.
Your final thoughts. We get a minute, gentlemen. I want to get a moment with Mark before we end this segment. That was a very strong response. We anticipate more and more from Obama on this issue in the final 2.5 weeks, I would presume.
Hey, Jeff, I'm enjoying your show. Good discussion.
Thank you.
So I've been trying to cover this story, and I have some fact-checking that really needs to be done. I know that one of the statements that Romney made was that there were no female applicants, according to him, to his cabinet when he was governor of Massachusetts. And I would like to question that, because I highly doubt that that's true. And if the correspondent, has any information on that, I would love to hear about that. Also, people need to remember that he was a very unpopular governor during the late part of his term.
No, he couldn't run for re-election at all.
No, he was totally too unpopular to run for re-election. And also, his state was actually 47th in terms of creating new jobs. So if you're looking at that as a resume, doesn't look too good in terms of being a president. And also his statements about his father having walked out when Barry Goldwater was nominated, that turned out not to be true. He also made some kind of statement about how he had witnessed his father marching with Martin Luther King, which turned out not to be true. So a lot of these things need to be challenged. And so I appreciate your
Mark,
program.
where do you work in Seattle? Do you work for a newspaper or an online publication? Or?
Well, I'm writing at Huffington Post. I'm also a reporter for the Pacifica Radio Network. But I have been published, actually, in the Seattle Times. Yeah. By the way, I've been on the station before with Brad Bannon, I believe, has a program there. So
Well, I look forward to talking to you individually. I want to give Don a chance as we get limited time here, but stay with us, Don. There obviously have been a lot of falsehoods on the Romney camp, as there have been on the Obama camp. But this thing about the binders, even though a lot of people didn't look at it as oh my God, where is he going with this? Just the fact that he brought it up in that way. How is the Romney camp handling it this morning?
Well, they they realize that the Obama campaign is tried last night and is continuing to try today to reestablish the big lead that Obama had among female voters. And all the talk about Romney wanting to defund Planned Parenthood and the Lilly Ledbetter Act last night, all of that was about that. And Romney's defense about how he went out and got many women applicants for his cabinet, that came back with whole binders of women resumes and all, was a response to that. And they're responding again today. I mean, I think they realize that they've really got to protect what they gained 2 weeks ago in that debate, which was much
Don, can you stay with us? We got a hard break coming up here. Stay through the break, and Mark, if you can hold as well, I would appreciate it. We'll be back with Don McGillis, political editor at the Boston Globe, and our caller Mark, who's a Huffington Post guy. This is the Globe hard break.
2 weeks ago, really was a response to that, and they're responding again today. I mean, I think they realize that they've really got to protect what they gained 2 weeks ago in that debate, which was much
Don, can you stay with us? We got a hard break coming up here. Stay through the break, and Mark, if you can hold as well, I would appreciate it. We'll be back with Don McGillis, political editor at the Boston Globe, and Mark, who's a Huffington Post guy. This is the Jeff Santos Show. We'll be back after this timeout.
Show. This hour of the Jeff Santos Show is sponsored by LIUNA, the Laborers International Union of North America. Feel the power. You can check what they are doing for their members right now. Just go to liuna.org.